Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisition! Now, since we are about to finish, well, we did finish the Exalted Plains, this is going to be a Codex episode, so feel free to skip if you feel like it, but I'm going to read some Codexes, so let's start in Tales. Stories and songs are windows to the minds of the people. Alright, number 3. I am the one. I feel the sun through the ashes in the sky, whereas the one who will guide into the night. What's begun is the war that will force this divide, what's to come is fire in the end of time. I am the one who can recount what we've lost. I am the one who will live on. I have run through fields of pain and sighs. I have fought to see the other side. I am the one who can recount what we've lost. I am the one who will live on. As performed to the bard, Meriden Halewell. Right on, she's awesome. Alright, what else do we have? Yeah, up in here. Have I read this? I don't think I have. Referred to as the Voyager in Carmen parlance, the constellation Paraquialis. Yeah, I did that right. It's commonly depicted as a ship, no ordinary ship, but rather the primitive vessel sailed by ancient people such as the Neurominians. Translation from ancient to Dean is usually across the sea and lends credence to the idea that the Neurominians came to Thetis from elsewhere. Although most reputable scholars dispute this, especially considering those ancient peoples would likely have named these stars long before they undertook such a voyage. From a study of Theodosian astronomy by Sister Orin Petrarchius. Chios, Judex, Sword of Mercy, common parlance, even if the sword was assigned to these stars long before Andraste's time. Judex was referred to as the concept of justice, an ancient venter and downturn aspect of the sword indicated a guilty verdict, which in those times generally translated to execution. Obviously, with its modern meaning and use as a symbol by the Templar Order, the old interpretation is frowned upon by scholarly circles. Did I read that one? There's a couple that I've read. I don't remember. I've read Silentier. Or Perfumed Sanctuary. Now, there's a couple in here that I think aren't coming up. Or, like, they're saying I have read them, but I haven't. And that's kind of disheartening. But, I can check, because I have an alright memory about this stuff. So I'm pretty sure I've read these songs. So that's sweet. Rise. Sarah was never, yeah. Fine time to close the border. Huh. The news is dire. There are rumors that our warden brothers and sisters in Ferelden will all perish. Without the Grey Wardens, the blight will take Ferelden. Then it will undoubtedly spread. It will go to north of Narara in the marches. It will come west to Orlais, and at the head will be an archdemon. And in its wake will come thousands upon thousands of darkspawn. We must be ready to stare squarely into the eyes of oblivion. Many of you have asked why we remain here when such threats are mounting in the east. The problem, you see, is not a new one for us. Politics, to say Ferelden and Orlais have been at odds, is an understatement. These two are like dogs and cats. We wardens are a legion by address only, but that does not seem to matter to Ferelden's leaders. Word is that the king of Ferelden is dead, and the successor Logan Mactyr decrees that no warden set foot in the country. Mactyr, a national hero who helped expel invading Orlesian forces from Ferelden, seems to have it out for the Order, too. Maybe he can doubt our abilities. Maybe he is more foolish than the history books make him out to be. This is why we must wait, even as Ferelden willingly welcomes its fate. An address by Warden Constable Blackwall of Valshivin to his recruits, Ninth Circuit Dragon. Oh shit! Blackwall said that? Wow. Nutty affair. Wait, Blackwall of Valshivin. Is Valshivin in the Free Marches? Because Blackwall said he's from the Marches. Valshivin sounds like an Orlesian. Huh. Nutty affair. I don't think I've read this. Several months after Clemence II died, rumors that she had been a man in disguise began circulating in Valrail. The gossip was eventually traced back to one sister, Constance, who was present within the Divine's body, was cleaned and dressed for her funeral. Constance had a weakness for barley wine, and spoke of Clemence II's sensitive matter to a local tavern keep after having imbibed large quantities of the beverage. Revered Mother Estelle put the rumors to rest by declaring that she had also aided the sisters in dressing the late Divine's body for cremation, and knew for a fact that Clemence II was a woman. She went on to say that Sister Constance was mistaken. What she saw was, in actuality, a squirrel that had clambered through an open window and come between the Divine's legs. What? From Secrets of the Most Holy by Sister Damson. If ever you should buy a book, maybe it should be Secrets of the Most Holy. Oh my god. A season of the four fell. At this window, the thief Treadwell did witness the attempted assault of Lady Castine. He surrendered his chance for escape to catch and hold her assailant, a bard of Lord Halavine, hero thief, foiled bard, and conspiring noble, while censured as per their station and relevant action. Lashings and labor disappeared and ostracized for the local season, respectively. The scandal played out far longer in the theatrically serialized adaptation, which reimagined the three as siblings separated at birth, competing for Lady Castine's hand at her orchestration. The conclusion was relatively accurate to the original event, save the punishment of the thief and the noble being swapped to the comic effect. Generally good reviews received, though some thought the height of the lady's hair to be unrealistic. Excerpted and torn from A Disposable Walking Tour of the Capital by Fillion Abad. Well, I'm guessing that's about how I got that in Relay. Andresse's Mbari, I've read that. Andrel's Messenger. Pretty sure I read this. But I will read it since it's super short. Long ago, when our people were strong and free, we roamed the world and could do as we please. We were taught by Andrel, mother of the hares, to respect nature and all of the Creator's creatures. Even though the earth was ours, we did not misuse it. They say the great leaders of the people would pray to Andrel for guidance. Where shall we hunt? Where shall we raise our hala? Where shall we settle and build? Andrel would send her messenger, the owl, to show the people the way. They would follow him to where the land was blessed. Always keep an eye out for the noble owl. You never know, Andrel might have a message for you. As told by Keeple Gisro to the children of the Ralafaring clan. Astrariums. Regarding your inquiry regarding the so-called Astrariums, it is a considered belief that these are relics from a cult that existed in pre-Andrastian era of the Tevinter Imperium. Now, what we considered a cult in that society worshipped the old gods, an order of magisters who believed in the destruction of the Magisterium, the governing body of the Imperium that determines which mages are and are not given the Magister title. The members of this order wish to return to an earlier period where dreamers ruled, and evidence indicates they operated throughout Tevinter, though primarily in the frontier areas. There they would lock away their secrets, caches of treasure, and perhaps even secret meeting places, though we have no way of knowing for certain. Unlockable only through a knowledge of ancient astronomy, a practice we understand, rather out of fashion in the late Tevinter period. According to our investigations, each of the Astrariums could point to the secret cache if we knew the three constellations that map to each device present at the site. Oh, is there three at every place then? Connect the Dweomers in the correct configuration, and it should be revealed. Many of these relics were sought out by Andrastian cultists in the early Divine Age, the Order of Fiery Promise in particular, and destroyed. Why? Because they believed these Astrariums held together the Veil, and that destroying them would destroy the Veil and thus the world. Such is the way of cults, in any kind, that the true reasons for what they do could never be truly understood by modern minds. From a letter written by Magister Pelodonus, head of the Choral Order 512 Exalted. Or for Andrastianism. The teaching of the Andrastian Chantry had been part of the Dojian lives for over 800 years. The Chantry guides us and teaches us. We are made humble in the knowledge that we have sinned, and yet we are inspired and given hope through Andraste's story and her song. But Andraste died almost 200 years before the Emperor Cordelis Dracon established the Chantry and spread the Chant of Light. In those terrible years, the Dojians were lost. Crying for salvation, they took to anyone and anything they hoped could give them the answers they so desperately sought. Some returned to the well-known faiths, like the Tevinter Imperium's cult of the Old Gods, which we hold accountable for the curse of the Blight and the Darkspawn, but others found their own paths, following false prophets and making false gods out of men. Many of these religions have disappeared, dying out with their adherents, like the Daughters of Song or the Empty Ones. Others, like the Blades of Hysterion, may still lurk in the hidden corners of our world. This book aims to remember them so that we may find compassion for those who lived in the dark times, and also for they who even now are lost and turn to shadow trying to find light. For Andrastianism, the Forgotten Face by Sister Rondwyn of Tanterville. Bottles of Thetis. Oh shit. That's cool. Garblogs. Are these just the ones that I have? I think I have more than this. Maybe? I don't know. Garblog's Black Country Reserved. Well, I've read all of these. There's no point to. Consolation Bellatanus, Draconis. High Dragon, Dragon of Flight. Recently it has come into question whether this is the case of an ancient imperium, most of Enter Dragon imagery reserved for the old gods, so why would they dedicate a constellation to dragons in general? Specific dragons were held in such reverence. This speculation is fueled by older drawings showing Draconis as more serpentine in appearance, perhaps depicting a sea creature, an unknown eighth old god that was stricken from historical record. Ooh. I've read all these. Maybe I didn't read out for video. Commonly referred to as the oak, the constellation for Vanus is generally represented by a towering tree with leafless branches. Many scholars believe this is a representation of nature that harkens back to the lore of the early Nerominians, whose beliefs largely aligned with animism, prior to the rise of the old god of worship and the creation of the Demeter Imperium. Others, however, believe for Vanus was originally a constellation of the elven people, specifically a depiction of Andruil, goddess of the hunt, Vir Tanadal, or a way of three trees, is central tenet of Andruil, and some think that Vanus originally represented this concept. Read those? Alright. Savani, I read that. Cemetery, I read that. Nebrium, I'm pretty sure I read that. Yep. Darktown's Deal. Don't know if I read this, so I'm gonna read. Ask the nobles of Orzammar how their kingdom gets silks and grain and wine from the surface, and they'll tell you trade with the surface occurs. It occurs as if on its own, with no traders or merchants or human farmers involved. A little miracle of dwarven ingenuity. The reality is a lot messier than their fantasy. Orzammar relies upon the surface not just for its prosperity, but for its survival. Ages of blights have taken thousands of tithes away from the dwarves. These were the places where most of the food was raised. The dwarven kingdom that endured alone, independent beneath the stone from time immemorial, perished in the first blight, faded into myth. Now, the remaining dwarves underground cling to existence through a lifeline to the surface, a chain forged from the castless. That's shitty. So, the dwarves hate surface dwellers or whatever, but they are dependent on them? Wow, I didn't know this. Every dwarf who goes to the surface is stripped of caste, effectively exiled and removed from dwarven society forever, but Orzammar relies on the continued relations with these exiles to live. This has created a shadowy area of dwarven trade and politics where the rich, powerful, and elite maintain secret ties to people who, by official decree, no longer exist, and everyone who knows what kinds of things lurk in the shadows. The Carta lives in the underbelly of the surface trade like a tapeworm. Many surface dwarves maintain ties, not officially recognized, of course, but respectable to their former houses in the noble or merchant castes, and those contacts are their means of trading with Orzammar. Those who have no ties because they were cast off by their families or never had good connections make the trip back underground to trade with Orzammar personally, where they find themselves treated like criminals. A casteless in Orzammar, even a wealthy one, from the surface, will be driven away from most merchants, treated like he's carrying a plague at best. So these surface merchants turn to the Carta for help. The Carta acts as a contact in Orzammar for surface businesses and sells their goods on the black market. For a cut, of course, the Carta always gets a cut. The outraged citizens of Orzammar sometimes petition the Assembly to deal with the rampant crime surrounding the black market, and showy displays are made of kicking in the doors to the Carta hideouts and raising dust town. But the Carta always comes back, because the Assembly always allows it. Too much of Orzammar is dependent on the black market trade, and the nobles know it. They all do business with the Carta. Everyone has a stake in its success. The Carta has 1,000 faces above and below the surface. Honest merchants and noble caste lords and upstanding members of the Merchants Guild, all a cover for thousands of more smugglers, thieves, and murderers in the shadows. The lifeline of Orzammar. Praise the ancestors. Excerpted from Darktown's Deal by Varric Tethris. Oh, Varric wrote that? Shit. He hasn't even been in Orzammar for a while. I know. I've read these. What does this say about it? Perhaps local to a handful of Grey Warden companies, these spirits reflect a custom or legend born of utility. Allowed to seize goods to aid their cause, wardens combine half-full bottles to save a space while traveling. Never fully emptied, or as with the kettle cleaned, each eventually takes on a base flavor as unique as the warden carrying it. What do we care? Nothing burns like the first cup. Could be fact, could be tribute. It does seem as though the bottles range farther than the namesake warden could. Warden Hightown, Chapter 5. Chapter 4. Oh, I gotta start from Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Chapter 2. Pretty sure I read Chapter 1. I don't know, maybe. Maybe I didn't. I'm gonna start Chapter 1. Alright. Hard Hightown, Chapter 1 by Varric Tethris. They say coin never sleeps, but anyone who's walked the patrol of Hightown Market at midnight might disagree. The pickpockets and confidence men head to the taverns at dusk. The dwarven businessmen and nobles go back to their tiny palaces to fret over the ways they got cheated, and the market falls silent. Donan Branakovic knows every angle of the market with his closed eyes. 20 years of patrols had etched it into him so that he walked the beat even in his dreams. The recruit, Jevlin, was another story. The ring of steel striking stone told Donnan that the kid had stumbled into a column again. His new armor would be full of dents by sunrise. Oh no! Torches would make this easier. The sound of Javelin hauling himself off the pavement was like a tinker's cart crashing. Torches make you night blind. He'll adjust. Donnan crossed the square to help the kid to his feet. A breeze scurried across the plaza, setting the banners and pennants shivering and carrying an old familiar scent. Donnan stopped in his tracks. Something's wrong. His voice was low, warning. He peered into the dark, up at the mezzanine just above them. Follow me. Be ready for trouble. The 2 guards climbed the dark stairs, and there, in the puddle of shadow, found the body. Gold-trimmed satin glittered through the blood. Get the captain, Donnan sighed. We've got a dead magistrate. Oh no. Chapter 2. Magistrate Dunwald Butler had the air of a man who had never risen before dawn in his life. He stared down his nose at Donnan Bredakovic and his partner Javelin as if he were on some lofty balcony above them instead of standing in the parlor in his dressing gown. The magistrate is indisposed. This can wait until a reasonable hour, he gestured for the guards to see themselves out. The magistrate is dead, Donnan corrected him. Wake the household. As the butler left, Javelin shifted uneasily in his new armor. Shouldn't the captain be here? You want to go back to the barracks? Be my guest, Donnan said with a shrug, only half listening as he studied the collection displayed in the room. A dozen ancient swords lay nestled in display cases, protected from dust and prying fingers. He moved to lift the lid of the nearest one. Javelin started a protest, but then the doors opened. She had the eyes of the color topaz and dark hair that fell across her brow like sword strokes. She strolled into the parlor with such dignified elegance that Donnan didn't even realize for several minutes that she was clad in a housecoat and not a ball gown. You have news about my husband? What shame was done this time? Forget to pay his bill at the Rose? She seated herself and indicated the guards did the same. Donnan nodded at the recruit to speak up. Javelin started. No, Lady Dunwald. Actually, she interrupted him with a wave. Marielle, please. Lady Marielle, your husband has been murdered. Donnan took over the last flustered recruit. When did you see him last? Marielle stared at him, her jewel-colored eyes wide and her voice cracked on. Murdered? Seamus? But a heartbeat would be 2 past, and she again became the perfect picture of noble grace. I saw him at dinner, she answered in a tone anyone might use to comment on the weather. He left before dusk. He said he was going to play wicked grace with the Comte de Favre. Do you know of anyone who might have wanted him dead? Javelin asked softly. People want magistrates dead on principle. She gave a wry smile, but her voice grew pained. Criminals, political rivals, even people in his district who disagreed with him. She drifted off, lost in thought, and then turned to Donnan, eyes blazing. A week ago, a letter came, vague threats. I thought it was nothing, but it upset Seamus. Who sent it? Donnan asked. It wasn't signed, but the seal was 6 crossed swords. Oh. I don't think I have chapter 3, which is disappointing. So I have to, read this. Her perfumed sanctuary, Divine Rosamund. Now here's an interesting story. Rosamund was the youngest divine ever crowned. She was born to the noble Montebelliard family and groomed to the rank of divine by her predecessor, Divine Hortensia II. What the fuck? Hortensia? Records of Rosamund describe her as a radiant beauty, and she captured the hearts and imaginations of the Orlesian public almost immediately. Not long after she was crowned divine, erotic art and literature featuring her began to make an appearance in noble Orlesian circles. Oh my god. The situations depicted in these works were entirely fictional. Divine Rosamund led a life that was beyond reproach, but it seemed that her purity only served to fan the flames of creativity in her followers. To them, the reality was a meddlesome creature to be punted off the nearest cliff, and they showed no restraint in portraying the divine in the midst of activities both forbidden and often physically impossible. Several pages of a pamphlet containing a story about Rosamund still exist in the private collection of a certain gentlewoman who will remain unnamed. One page describes in painful detail Rosamund's perfumed sanctuary. The rest are dedicated to portraying the Most Holy at her daily exaltations before she is joined in worship by her devoted Templars. Oh my god. The Secrets of the Most Holy. What did I tell you, man, in this book? Hero in every port. Ballad of Nuggins. What? Oh! The best of us round when the dreadnought was sighted. Nuggins, for he heard the call. Trapped on Cunara, and that's why he's knighted. Nuggins, as brave as he's small. Oh, a shore full of pirates, the worst set to happen. Nuggins, his heart is pure and true. Troop team and admiral, now he's our captain. Nuggins for me and for you. Oh my god, the blame was upon us and we found no pardon. Nuggins, now he'll make a stand. Tripped in the dark spot and now he's a warden. Nuggins, for all on the land. Oh, parade through Kirkwall's hero and winner. Nuggins, stubborn and vicious. Tripped up a Viscount, now he's for dinner. Nuggins, of course he's delicious. What is this? From Small Legends of Nugs and Foxes, collected by Philium, a bard. I read how to act for Eldon. In the mists of torn sky, several hours later, after it was dark, hoping the chill night air would grant me. This is the beginning. We set sail from Kirkwall under fair winds and clear skies. The captain said we would be in Rialto within a week if the weather held. I spent the day aboard deck, chatting with the crew, and retired to my cabin at dusk. To my dismay, the motion of the waves made it impossible for me to settle down. Even reading was difficult. Though the book of the myths and legends I had brought was quite riveting indeed, I emerged again several hours later, after it was dark, hoping the chill night air would grant me some relief. As I leaned over the rail, I heard a cry of alarm for the crow's nest. I raised my head and saw in the sky, to a far-off southwest, an eerie green glow, which grew brighter as we watched. In the space of a breath, it became too dazzling to look at, and I had to shield my eyes. When I looked up again, the light was still there, amidst swirling clouds. It looked to me then as though the sky had been rent in two and the heavens were pouring out. I heard footsteps, and was joined at the rail by just the rest of the crew. We were silent, all of us afraid to give voice to the fears that now consumed our hearts. Finally, after several minutes, we heard a lone voice in the crow's nest. It's the end of the world. When they count a Via Lazare Treviso, rumored to be a retired Antivan crow. Le Pont Vietmont. I read that. Legend of the Three Sisters, Book 1, Book 2. Okay. Typically, the three sisters react in similar manner upon entering the Belle Noche. Charisse is the adventurous one, intrigued by... Oh, wait. I read 2. I just need to read 3, right? No, I didn't. Charisse is the adventurous one, intrigued by all the sights and the sounds of the market, and the most heedless of any dangers. Marie is the brash one, the most suspicious of everything she sees, and the one who makes withering, sarcastic comments, even if she allows her sisters to drag her along. Brielle, meanwhile... Oops, excuse me. I have to move my phone. Brielle, meanwhile, is always the innocent one. She is depicted as wide-eyed and startled, like a doe lost in the wilderness. Yet by the end of the tale, she is also the one who burst out of her shell the most. A common initial stop for the girls, for instance, is the White Rose. It's an infamous establishment in the Belle Marche, serving tea and cakes to noble patrons by day, and at night transforming into a house of ill repute filled with male and female prostitutes in elegant dress. The girls go there because the building is fashionable, some place they can escape from the market's crowds. Inside, Marie is the first to realize that the friendly gentlemen are not what they seem. Brielle is scandalized, but it's Charisse who runs off to dance with these men despite her sister's protests. This leads to a chase through the White Rose, Marie and Brielle stumbling into room after room where they are confronted with various patrons. Empress Celine herself is frequently mentioned. Oh my god. Marie scathingly debates these patrons, while Brielle berates these patrons. While Brielle is intrigued despite herself and eventually drawn off when Marie isn't looking. Marie throws her hands up in disgust and joins a dwarf in smoking an illicit substance from a wild contraptions. It's at this point in the tale where the girl's desperate chaperone, they beat the beast, appears in the White Rose, and things truly get interesting. Details vary, but by the end of this part of the tale, the White Rose is in flames. La Bite has pummeled her way through a legion of clueless patrons, and the three sisters are led out the back door by a charming elf, completely unaware anything is amiss behind them. To my knowledge, however, the White Rose has never burned to the ground in its entire existence, and maintains a legion of guards that make such antics implausible. Even so, the tale is stubbornly believed to be true in Valroyo itself. From Tales of Valroyo by Lord Werner Jacquin. Whatever your name is, dude. Alright. Book 3. As with the Stop and the White Rose, the individual tales of the three sisters are often told by their own. Seldom is the saga repeated in its entirety. Indeed, one of the few times an attempt to do so was in a play in the Grand Rayo Theatre that sharply criticized Divine Justinia's attempt at reform. The play was quickly banned after only 3 performances. A book titled The Three Brothers was later published in Manrathas, citing the exploits of 3 Tevinter brothers who find themselves lost in Valrayo and spend their time ridiculing Orlesian culture. Despite claims in Tevinter that it is the original, it is quite clear that the Three Sisters legend far predates it. Throughout the legend's various incarnations, the most commonly depicted adventurers include the sisters are The sisters are convinced to drink dwarven ale by a handsome nobleman with sinister intentions. Their reactions to the ale vary, but usually by the end of this tale, the sisters end up on a wild chase after the nobleman through the streets of the Belmarsh until he jumps into the river and drowns. Okay. The sisters ask for help from a group of dwarven merchants who say that they will do so only if the sisters... Okay, they will do so only if the sisters solve a clever riddle. The nature of the riddle varies, but the dwarves always cheat the sisters in the end. Typically, the encounter ends with the sisters fleeing before they are sold into slavery. Though sometimes the legend has them clubbing the lead dwarf to death with paddles until the other dwarves run off. Good God. Okay. They are drawn into the annual Saturnalia parade, usually in the climax of the story, until the Imperial army descends upon the revelers and starts a chaotic chain reaction that results in the sisters either stowing aboard a pirate ship or wading through the elven alienated sewers. It seems to change each age. Once their chaperone Lebit catches up with the girls, they usually hang their heads in shame and return to Montebelliard Manse to resume good and honest lives. Not always, however. The most recent versions of the legend have the sisters remaining in Valrail to fight criminals while wearing black masks, though I honestly cannot tell where these come from. The Tales of Valrail by Lord Morningchuck. Alright. Majestic bastards. I remember the second last one. I wouldn't get closer than 60 feet, double the wingspan. That left you time to move. The beast was too weak to do much. Still, it seemed respectful to keep the distance and leave its end to animal and trainer. She starved out, not the way they should go, not the way I used to seeing them. Notorious raider trash. What did I just do? I don't even know. Why did I skip? I was using the wrong switchy thing. They were majestic bastards, and they knew it. Ask any warden dumped ass over ears for not picking up its. See, the trainer and beast had a kinship, and both knew what they wanted. For Griffin, that bond meant grooming. Couldn't fault them. They needed what they needed. I mean, what's a fair trade for saddling a warden commander full plate, lightning storm, sheer dive straight through an archdemon's wing? Legendary, you can't argue, but back on the ground, they knew they were owed. You couldn't shortcut and doubt them. They all had the majesty of a paddling rat if you waterlogged the feathers. No, it was a grueling task of printing 30 bloody feet of wings, and you had better remember, or maybe the thing got pissy next flight and cut an oak too close, give you a love tap so hard, your next helmet dented. Still, everything in balance, every talent tipped, there was nothing that compared. You could reach down from the sky and cradle Thetis in your hand. Anyway, yes, I remember the second last one. After she dropped the robes that took some crosscuts because they do things like that, and then we burned it, and then I got drunk. I do not remember the very last, and you can't make me. Comments of an unnamed Grey Warden excerpted from Weishaupt records on the extinction of a treasured species, liberated for public consideration by Philippe Bard. Wow. That's about the, Griffons. That's interesting. You want to know about my raider friends, huh? What in the world would make a goody-goody like you poke your nose in such dirty business? Well, there's a good Sir Thaddeus, of course. Some say that he runs the Armada. He doesn't. No one does. The Armada is a collection of ships, and each one is like a nation unto itself. Its own rules, its own people, its own leader. Thaddeus is respected, of course. You don't see half a dozen Orlesian frigates without earning at least some respect. He's a dangerous man, but he's no king of the Armada. If anyone tells you that, they're lying or misinformed. Then there's Lachlan Poole. Likes to sail around the southern Cape of Veins, rattling a saber and posturing it like it means something. No one really cares what Lachlan Poole does, though only a fool will say that to his face. You see, the thing about Lachlan Poole is he's got gold. Lots of it. All earned through legitimate means, even. He still has a trading company somewhere in the marshes and hires people to run it while he plays adventurer on the high seas. The Armada lets him do it because it always pays to have friends with coin. But what you should really watch out for is Inato, the one they call the Talon, the terror of Lomarin. But they most often call that crooked bastard what might kill you in your sleep. Slavery, murder, torture, nothing is too much for Inato. He'd traffic in souls if he discovered a way to extract them from people. In fact, I'm sure he has some Tevinter cronies working on that right now. I'm sure there's going to be made in stolen souls somewhere, in the Imperium probably. Isabella, self-proclaimed Queen of the Eastern Seas. Right. Isabella, right. Paragons, known and lesser known. The criteria the dwarves used to name a paragon never ceases to fascinate me. While a relatively rare distinction, it seems almost any achievement of significance warrants the title. Some paragons are the victors of great battles, others write books or songs. The common thread is an act that betters or sustains the dwarven way of life in some notable fashion. A Ducan is among the oldest and perhaps the most famous paragons. Not to be confused with his descendant, King Enderin Aeducan. The prior Aeducan was a humble member of the warrior caste whose brave leadership during the lot of the first blight saved Orzammar. When other tigers were lost, Aeducan claimed defeat, but his service made him a hero. History now remembers Aeducan as the quintessential paragon. Other paragons have been more controversial. Caridin, a master smith, created the powerful golems who helped the dwarves immeasurably in their battles with the Darkspawn. Caridin then disappeared amongst much speculation, taking the secret of his craft with him. There's also Astith the Grey, a paragon of the warrior caste. She was famous for her skills in unarmed combat and cut out her own tongue to focus on the art without distraction. An order of female dwarven warriors known as the Silent Sisters persists. They remove their tongues in her honor. Jesus Christ. But these are the most well-known of the dwarven paragons. Others have earned the rank over the ages for far less noble pursuits. I have found references to the paragons who made their names writing particularly good rhymes or brewing stronger ales. Then there's the paragon named Varen, who separated from his legion and lost his way in the deep roads. Varen nearly starved to death before breaking down and eating a nug, believed at the time as appetizing to dwarves as a rat. Devouring the creature not only saved his life, but opened his palate to a new world of flavor. When they finally found him, Varen was fatter than ever, and raving about the miraculous subtleties of nug flesh. The creatures are now considered a dwarven delicacy. Jesus Christ. From the Stones of the Dwarves by Brother Jen TV. Stone Halls of the Dwarves. What am I talking about? Iceberg's corpses. Wow. In all the strange struggles that have raged across Ferelden, one of the most peculiar is the Battle of Pauper's Cap. A powerful demon, bent on gaining power in the mortal world, raised an army of corpses to assault the home of Helianathus? Whatever. A reclusive apostate who was said to possess both fabulous wealth and great knowledge. While the demon saw the perfect host in the bejeweled bookworm, Helianathus was not without defenses of her own. Oh my god, it's a chick too. As the corpses shuffled toward her house, Helianathus called to the demon, declaring that though she was just a simple apostate, that the demon would see her power in entire infantry. Then, calling upon her magic, she summoned spirits into the plants in her vegetable patch, creating countless tiny sylvans. The resulting garden warfare saw corpses armored with buckets and doors as makeshift helmets, and shields battling possessed fruits and vegetables who spat seeds, constructed makeshift fortifications, and even chomped entire corpses whole. Is this Plants vs. Zombies? In the end, the area around Helianathus' home became both garden and graveyard, home to the corpses, destroyed as she defended herself in this world from the demon. Had she been defeated and her great brain turned to the demon's purposes, we might well have seen such terrible corpses rampaging from the great pyramids of Parval into the pride-infested waters of Lomarin, or even into the unknown western lands. Is this my lunch? I thought we were dining on bacon today. I was informed that there would be bacon. No, I shall not take the pot off my head. Why? Because I am mad. What? An unsourced and debatable tale from Davith the Mad, supposedly shared at his estate in Walnut Hills, where he spent his later years. Right on. Oh, Tear to Bright Axe. The first stanza of Tear to Bright Axe of Our Mother. Tell the tale of Tear to Bright Axe, mountain maker, spirit's bride. Free her people, forged in fastness, made in mountains hardy hide. Wise in wisdom, calm in counsel, grading gifts her grateful guests. Sacrifice she did to spirits, took their teachings, followed quests. Bright her axe, unbreaking crystal, stirred to flame when temper flies. Gifted from her leaf-eared lover, launching lady of the skies. Bested blades of all who tried, maiden spurning all requests. Tear to Bright Axe, dreamer's eyes, of our mother, of her making. Oh, second stanza, so it's gonna have all the stanzas in here now. Okay. Second stanza. Thumb golden-handed, fingers greasy, jeweled rings with glitter shone, took in tribes in times of trouble, fed them fat to weaken bone. Warriors great in number sunk his swords to fight his wars. Drake-scaled shirts, their bodies covered, heart wine stained to salty shores. Told his tribes a tale of treasure, over sea to north it gleamed, whispered words to drive the droves to Golden City where he dreamed. Counsel quick in dreams alone, voices wiser man ignores. Pushed the tribes until they screamed, heed the dreams and crossed the waking. Third stanza. Money-tongued was Thelm to Tyrda, gifts of gold and steel to start. One to Tyrda's meant for warriors, stolen tribe from stolen heart. Cold her tribe, the golden hand, counseled, leaned from winter's wind night chill. Beam her bride and cross the waking, eat the gilded city's fill. Tyrda Bright Axe fought with fury, crystal axe head steered to blaze. Beaded well her leaf-eared lover, unabashed. unabashed by lustful gaze. And then shall break my tribe apart, not with demon words that kill, fear my fury's fiery rays, dream word fly, their thirst unslaking. Fourth stanza. Tear to bright axe, Thelm gold-handed, battle brought with blade and axe, Thelm in mail and shield of silver, shining sheen to turn attacks. Blade of dragon bone, now blooded, warrior throats wrung raw with shears. Tear to stands, her bright axe blazing, legs still weeping battle tears. Bright the axe of leaf-eared lover, laughing lady of the skies. Fire flares as Thelm gold-handed, honey tongue eats his lies. Forth to warmth and golden cities. Whispers speak in dreamers' ears, silver scorched the lyre's flies on raven beaks to dream on waking. Fifth stanza. Tear to Braddock's bold and bloodied took her tribe from placid plains. Tribes with blades by farming blunted, chased and fought their parting pains. To the mountain shorn of shelter, snow-slipped peaks gave it wind it spiked. Found a cave to save her tribe, but dragonfire lit the night. Beast snow-blade break came roaring, mountains slipped their winter gown. Tear to shouts to leaf-eared lover, you I chose above a crown. Lightning split the spitting rains, sundered over prideful heights. Dragon fell and rubble down, crashed and crushed in earth's mad shaking. Sixth stanza. Tear to bright axe, brown to her tribe, free from fallow fat below. Built in battle, fed on fighting, strong from struggle did they grow. Deep in caves the stone men tribe, Hendir's warriors stout and strong, met this tribe with axes ready, armor gleaming, sword blades long. Spoke with Tyrda did her lover, gentle whispers soft she made. Word and hearts were sundered, simple still with honor, thus she bade. Let the tribe the dwarf men know, in their caves where they belong, not with the battle but with the trade, Hendir's dwarves give peace unbreaking. Seventh stanza. Tyrda Brightaxe, dwarf friend chieftain, with her leaf-haired lover lay. Woke she did to love sweat morning, lover gone and light a day. Dream words whispered, soft and spoken, still the silence crushed and crashing, dead her tribe unless a child could keep her online in warrior fashion. Avalvar, so named the lover, called our journey, yours in mind, one day child of Tyrda's blood. Morganen, in strength of shine. Morganen, sounds like Morgan. Lovers whispers to obey, hinder dwarf prince, friend in passion, babe produced to serve the line, the Avar tribe her name are taking. Eighth stanza, and the final, I'm guessing. Tyrda Brightaxe, Avar chieftain, strong her tribe with dwarven trade. Battles brought to men and demons, one with wisdom, fire and blade. Then did Tyrda look to Hendir, dwarf prince friend, children giver. Took her freedom, Hendir glad, wished her what he could not give her. Chose her child to stand as chieftain, after all last wrongs were righted. Gifted goods of worldly want, left her tribe no more benighted. Skyward one last trick she made, to her lover dream delivered, raven feathered reunited, hearts both whole, now neither aching. So sad. Seers and Osmond. The 23rd of Ferventus. When I set out for the capital of Ravane, I did not anticipate arriving in the middle of a little provincial festival. The streets are thick with fishermen and farmers coming in from the countryside for some gathering. Rural life, apparently, breeds fierce rivalries. I've seen more than one fistfight erupt in the square outside the inn. And do they call this music? Excellent wine, however, it must be Antivan. 24th of Ferventus. The argument is sealed. The merchant had more jewelry on his head than Orlesian women do on their fingers, but anyone willing to sell me silk at this price may dress how they please. Sabal, whose title is Ana'ain, is an amiable sort who offered to show me Alsmet tonight. Apparently the village leaders, hedge mages, they dub seers, traveled to Darisman twice a year to meet in council, forged trade agreements, and publicly pledged loyalty to Ravane's queen. Deals made at Alsmet are also seen as especially auspicious. Sable warned me that sometimes hotheads will attempt to settle old feuds before these seers decree binding judgments here. There are also feats, lavish gift-giving ceremonies, musical contests, and other rustic nonsense. This explains the rabble. Still, it might be amusing to sample the local color. I've just witnessed a loudly public exchange between two men trying to outdo each other with ridiculous boasts in the square. The most extravagant liar was applauded and decorated with wreaths by the crowd. The Ravani are lively. I'll grant them that. Not all are afraid to drink with the Deventer. Ha! Peasant oaf threatened me after I tripped into him at the feast. Bit of fire code him. Pressed ladies, too. What an enlightened attitude. These people are fantastic, lovely dancers. Did I read this because I remember that stupid-ass word? Must ram get vintage from Inky. Labels blue. 26th of Ferventus. Find out who's sleeping on top of me. Bring more robes next year. From the Diary of Bescorcus of Varantium, 932 Dragon. Maybe I didn't. That word has come up somewhere in my life recently. I just want to say that. So, she of the highwaymen repents. Gallows master, hold thy hand, hold it back a while. Callous juror, let me stand, let me bear a smile. For comes my brother distant, for comes by my Saviour soon. I stand here most insistence, I will receive my boon. Fellow soldier, hold thy voice, hold it if you may. Fellow shoulders, show my choice, I am in your sway. For know my crime was cruel, and all my pain deserved. I stand here there as a fool, I stand here as a fool, despite my brother served. Mother dearest, look away and look into the sun. Others nearest gone astray, you will be undone. You will be undone. For no more I will prattle, and no more I will pray. Here you must battle, as life will fly away. From songs of old or lay, she of the highwayman repents. Inscriptions collected by formerly Sister Laudine. Shred of blue. Hear the rain upon the leaves. I read that shit. Take back the sky. Tavern cheer. Now gather ye drunkard, that's how these begin. Songs of our heroes, of wars and our kin. Well, now the fight's ours, and none of us cowards. We'll drink to all hours, 'cause we know we can win. Oh, they cut into heaven and call it a door. The herald will lead us to even the score. We'll take back the sky and give him the floor. We'll take back the sky and give him the floor. The beast was upon us, our hopes all but drowned. At our necks a monster, at our heels a hound. But we found a fortress, and it's friggin' gorgeous. So join in the chorus and down a new round. Oh, we cut into heaven, we said it before, and Jossie will guide us to even the score. We'll take back the sky and we'll give him the floor. We'll take the sky and we'll give him the floor. We should look to our leader and heft up our crest. To show this Corypheus we're not impressed. He thinks we've mastered, we'll beat down this bastard, and then we'll get plastered. We're blessed by the best. Oh my god. Oh! We got into heaven, now sing it once more. Inquisitor, lead us to even the score. We'll take back the sky and we'll give him the floor. We'll take back the sky and feed him his lie, and black his foul eye, let all arrows fly. And then we'll have pie, die. Take back the sky, and we'll give him the floor. An exercise in rhyme by Merritt and a minstrel to our fine Inquisitor. Wow. What a great thing. The annulment at Darasmuid. When we heard of the injustices against our fellow mages of the White Spire, the circle of Magi and Valoreo, I feared what was to come. Our circle at Darasmuid is small and isolated. It exists largely as a facade to appease the Chancery. When the other circles rose up, the Chancery sent seekers across the bay from Aislay to investigate. They found us mixing freely with our families, treating female mages in the traditions of the seers, and denounced us as apostates. Perhaps they thought we were the spineless rogues who could be intimidated with little bloodshed. Before I was first enchanted, I was the daughter of Captain Ravand of the Felicissima Armada. I don't know if I read that right. There's a lot of I's. Armada. I know how to plan a battle. They brought with them a small army of Templars. We fought, and we might have won, but they invoked the right of annulment. With all the unrelenting brutality that allowed, it is their right to put screaming apprentices to the sword, burn our tainted libraries, crush irreplaceable artifacts under their heels, tear down the very walls of our home. No mage has the right to disagree. We of the Darasmuid Circle now wait, behind barricades. I've sent word to our brother and sister mages of this outrage. When they break through, we will not die alone. Final journal entry of the first enchanter Ravella, slain in Darasmuid, 940 Dragon. No! The avenue of her reflective thought. That was like right when we got to Orlais where all the statues were at. The avenue is inspirational, but wise travelers do not linger in their respects. Not just because the bazaar awaits, because the area before the back-turned statues is treacherous. Local legend has it that the child Empress Amy abused the opportunity of religious repose to relieve herself beneath the gaze of Our Lady. Unable to discipline the toddling leader, her attendants instead chastised the statues and had them turned into supposed embarrassment. True or not, foolish youths dare each other to soil the spot in similar fashion, and place otherwise reverent thought always carries a faint odor about it. Excerpted and torn from a disposable walking tour of the capital by Philium, a bard! The disciples of Andraste, the children of Andraste, I read that. The Crows and Cream Magical. I don't know if I read this. The first crow used to speak, even when we put hot coals to the soles of his feet and peeled the skin off his face and hands with a paring knife. Oh my god. I didn't read this. He opted instead to chew through his own tongue and choke to the death on the blood. Jesus Christ. The second captive repeated what we already knew. Queen Madrigal went on a hunt and did not appear for the evening's festivities. Her body was later found with 4 steel swords through the chest. I asked what he knew about one of the 4 swords being a replica of Syrian's Sword of Mercy. He had not heard about that, or at least claimed as much. He later on died on the rack, smiling slightly. Wow. The third crow must have realized he would not leave the dungeon alive. He seemed to hope that by angering Master Fiore, he would earn himself a quick death. The crow tried our patience with pithy comments while Master Fiore was trying to work. At one point, he made a remark about Fiore's mother, which I shall not repeat here. I will admit to feeling admiration for his ability to retain a capacity for coherent speech and even some wit while under extreme duress. Amid all his useless chatter, the third crow did raise an important point. His guild has a reputation to uphold. They are ruthless, efficient, and discreet. How would they maintain such notoriety if agents routinely revealed the names of employers with something as banal as torture? Banal. This gave me some pause. I called for a halt to the session. After some thought, I stabbed the man through the heart and set the 4th and 5th crow captives free. If there is confession to be extracted, it will not be done with pain. I recommend we abandon this course of action. A report of Captain Aristide tasked with investigating the assassination of Queen Madrigal of Antibes. The Daughters of Song! Wine, music, poetry, and the wanton and frenzied indulgence of carnal fantasies. These things characterize the hedonistic cult known as the Daughters of Song. Calling them an order of the faithful lends them a legitimacy they do not deserve. The daughters and sons, though they saw themselves also as daughters, celebrated Andraste's holy union, the Maker, in almost every way imaginable, and it was only the holy union they venerated. Andraste's life, her war, her teachings, and her sacrifice were blithely ignored. At its height, the Daughters of Song numbered in thousands. They maintained a stronghold in a village called Verlay, in the fields of Ghislaine. Verlay saw a yearly event during which the Daughters of Song paraded carven images of the Maker's glory through the square. The Daughters of Song were wiped out by the righteous forces of Emperor Dragon during his campaigns to unite all of Verlay. When the Emperor's forces sacked the village, the daughters would not arm themselves and were either killed or captured. The village was destroyed, the cult never recovered. From before Industrianism by the forgotten face of Sister Rondoin of Canterville. Disciples of Andraste. The disciples of Andraste are unique in all of history. The cult preceded the Chantry and kept itself so hidden and isolated that it actually survived to modern day. The disciples made their home high in the Frostback Mountains, in the village called Haven, which is now a sanctuary for pilgrims of the Chantry. It is understood that the disciples were descendants of the first followers of Andraste, who brought her ashes to Ferelden and built the temple to house it. Because they had pledged themselves to keeping the Temple of Sacred Ashes, the disciples of Andraste never left the Frostbacks. For 900 years they kept strangers away, killing all who came close, and were completely oblivious to the world that had advanced beyond the boundaries of their home. Having developed separately from the traditions of the Andrastian Chantry, the disciples were led by revered fathers. However, little else is known about the original beliefs of the disciples, for they had turned from their noble heritage by the time they were discovered. Almost all scholars believe that the centuries-long isolation imposed upon the village led to the necessity for inbreeding. This practice likely led to a greater incidence of madness, which may explain why the cult was, at the time of discovering in 930, worshipping a high dragon. According to writings discovered in Haven, the disciples of Andraste showed reverence to the dragon, believing it was to be the prophet reborn. The egg clutches and draglings of the dragon were afforded great honor for being Andraste's offspring, and were cared for by the cult. The dragon never attacked the cult, being cunning enough to recognize how this arrangement benefited it. Wow. In 930 Dragon, the disciples were wiped out by the hero Ferelden, who was on a quest to retrieve the sacred ashes of Andraste. Hell yeah, I did. From before Andrastianism, The Forgotten Face by Sister Rondoin of Canterville. Yeah. The folly of General Not Sheraton. 4. And so it was the victory that was absolute, and cheers were raised for General Not Sheraton, and so buoyed by respect and admiration, Not Sheraton stood proud and removed the mask of their state and true name. For had they not accepted her? Had they not thrived by her leadership? Had they not become comrades, despite station and masks of nonsense and protocol? And the answer was swift and bewildering, for they had not, and swiftly she was bundled away, amid calls of impostor and spy and other terms she could not know, for she still did not know where it lay. 5. In the days that followed to avoid scandal, the appointing of Not Sheraton was claimed a grand tactic of the true general. He must have orchestrated the whole affair from secret. From secret, meaning the cloakroom, for not even his own attendants knew his face, and they would have had the guard whisk him to jail for trespassing. But with his mask restored, and wary of the embarrassment, the general was merciful. Stop listening. That's right. The general was merciful without Sheraton, imposing less than half the prescribed lashes and sparing her and her lord from the gallows. They were not allowed to leave Orlais on the condition that not Sheraton was henceforth her name. The head of Madame Sibysance. This was that dragon in that Orlesian pub tavern thing. Mascot of Les Mastilions, named in jest but also genuinely respected, the Grand Man, as she is also called, was the last dragon brought down by Sir Koenig, previous owner of the cafe. A spirited hunter, Koenig came of age in the years following the sighting that named that era. While others were quick to assume the tales of ancient Navarran dragon hunters must have been exaggerated to track the gradual increase in dragon numbers and size, Koenig believed we had yet to see a true return of the beasts of legend, that the specimens of this day were young, despite their ferocity. It is a cruel victory, but today we know Sir Koenig to have been correct, even as he may have fallen to his own expertise. He was years overdue from his last hunt. And for the rest of us, travel wary. What we have thought to be the pinnacle of dragon strength may have been closer to adolescence. The sisters of Madame Snappy Snips may have left their siblings far behind. I feel him a bard. The Lady of the Skies. My father died with honor, so we gave him to the sky. My husband and I led the procession to the peak, singing with knife and hammer. We scoured the flesh and split the bones as we left. I saw the carrion crows descending to carry my father home in pieces. I knew the Lady of the Skies smiled. Our tribe has never failed to do the lady honor. The flights of our birds reveal the truth of the future to our shaman. We sacrifice wolves upon our altars in return. She sends prize in game in the hunt, and victory in war. When a couple is bound together by the sacred knots, it is the lady's hymn we sing. We Avar never leave the ice and the stone. We never bowed to Kalanhad as the Alamari did, nor shall we be enslaved by the words of the new prophet. We are constant as the sky, and from our lady shall have her due. From the Meditations of Anashi, of our tribeswoman in Falconer. The lost city of Barandur. On the 15th day of my journey across the Deventer Imperium, our caravan reached a great rolling plain. Swaying grass hit flocks of birds so vast that when they took flight, their numbers blocked the sun. This, our guide informed us, was the great city of Barandur, wonder of the ancient world, famed for its fountains, which were said to grant eternal youth. Legend has it that during the celebration of the winter solstice, Caranatus, High King of Barandur, turned away an envoy from the High Priest of Dumat. The priest called upon his god to punish Caranatus for the offense, and the dragon god of silence answered him. Months passed. The king of Barandur fell silent. In distant Minrathis, the priest of Razakael dreamed of dark omens. The oracles declared that a dire fate had befallen King Caranatus. Finally, the fearful High King of Minrathis sent a company of soldiers to Barandur. The men reported that the road which led across the northern plains ended abruptly. They walked for leagues over barren, empty rock where the kingdom of Barandur had once been. All of it swept from the face of the world by the hand of a god. Not a single stone of Barandur remains, and nothing of the once powerful city has ever been found. A secret now that can never be told. In Pursuit of Knowledge, Tales of Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genetini. The Lover's Alcove. Every district has one, at least one, and the question must be, why is a place meant for dalliance declared in such an obvious way? And the answer is, of course, that obviousness is the entirety of the point. When manners and station will not allow impassioned words, such corners are places to be seen, not being seeking. Entering with a paramour is as much a declaration as singing out in joy, which one of good standing must never do. The alcove is thus a dignified means of announcing romantic affiliation, either for a genuine partnership or to appear as such in order to spare a suitor a refusal. Dignity, of course, requiring that one does not also make use of the darkness for actual physical gratification. This has, of course, never occurred. From our Orlesian heart by formerly Sister Ladine. Here is a bard life. As a bard, you are welcome anywhere in Orlais. Doors are open to you with generous smiles. Their wearers confident that no one would falsely pretend to such a title for fear of retribution. Your slightest request is immediately seen to. Your services are expensive and yet actively sought, and those who cannot afford them beg only to not have your displeasure turn their way. One day, however, you will awaken. You will realize the smiles are false. and behind them lies revenge. The first moment of weakness, your brothers and sisters bards will be unleashed upon you like a pack of hounds. You will realize that they are not your brothers and sisters at all. For all of your fancy intrigue, you have spent your life creating nothing of your worth. You have been swallowed by the web of your own deceits in the game of which you believed yourself master. It moves on without you, uncaring. From a letter signed Sister Nightingale. I think I read this. Damn, Liliana. Damn. She had a lot to say about the game. The Pyramids of Parvalin. The island called Parvalin was the first land in Thedas to be taken by the Qunari, and has been held by them ever since. But while the Qunari have raised their own marvels on the land, the famed city of Cunedar comes to mind. Parvalin had a rich history before the Qun ever came to its shores. Tear your eyes from Cunedar's wonders and look instead to the jungle. There you'll see the ruins of vast cities that proclaim in silence, "We were here." Parvalin's distinctive pyramids looming from the overgrowth have remained largely intact, even if their intended purpose has been lost. They do not seem to be tombs, though some chambers contain bodies that have been carefully preserved. Amazingly, the pyramid's proportions are mathematically perfect. Since their alignment is so precise, one suspects they serve some scientific purpose. Observatories, perhaps? And in Therastus has observed the shape of the Parvalin pyramids seems perfectly to match the constellation of Solium. We know more of the pyramids than we do of the humans who built them. The Qunari came to Parvalin as conquerors, but there is no history and little sign of battles fought on the island's shores. A civilization that could build such vast cities would surely have defenses, armies, perhaps weapons, alien even to the Qunari. So why is there so little proof of resistance? One answer may lie in what remains of the temples. Beneath the leaves and vines covering the walls, you can still make out the stylized carvings that adorn them. The paint has long since flaked away, but the silhouettes are clear. Intricate sea creatures, shipwrights, musicians, archers, and kings. Here and there, odd figures are depicted, tall and horned, always in a position of authority and respect. What were these horned figures to the ancients of Parvalin? Priests, ritualistically crowned, heroes, gods, perhaps. We may never know the truth. When the Qunari arrived from the sea, horned and carrying the word of the Qun, perhaps instead of conquerors, the people of Parvalin saw an old legend returning to them. This is all supposition. The humans of Parvalin are Qunari now, their ancient civilization discarded like a child's toy, yet the pyramids remain, along with the old cities. The island itself, one day, greater scholars may hear what they have to say. From a compiled history of the occupied north by Renatus of Aisley. The Rendi Dowager Courtly. Pretty sure I read this. Right. Read the Singing Maiden, Soul Canto. Did I read this? I'm pretty sure I did read that. The Tome of Costlin, yeah. So intriguing. So Galen made his way through the wood until he saw the light of the quarter moon shining on the rock. Lys emerged from the pines, and they shared a quick embrace before making their way to the waiting ship. From a local version of the resourceful lovers. It is said that lovers who kiss who kiss the sun's tree will be blessed with a long and happy marriage. It was fun that I read that one too. To be corrupted. The corruption is taking hold now. What doesn't hurt is numb. Head's all foggy, but the scientist in me can't help but describe what this feels like. My body is breaking down. The fingernails were the first to go. I started to itch all over, and when I scratched, they peeled back. Clumps of hair fell away, and then clumps of flesh. I hear a song in my head. It's deafening. The most beautiful thing I've ever heard. But I don't hear it with my ears. It's in my brain. A blissful sound. This must be the call for which the darkspawn yearn, but what causes them to dig so feverishly? I'd still rather die. I suppose that's something. Missive found in the deep road, signed only Warden Pierce. Jeez. What is green? Oh, thank goodness we read all of them now. What is green? Imagine I should present to you an object which to my mind is of indisputable greenness, and ask, does this thing appear to you to be green? Naturally, you might say that it does, for you have come to recognize the appearance of the color of the object to be green, associating the word with that which your eyes see. But it could be my understanding of green differs entirely from yours. What if perchance you could see into my mind? You might realize that all things that I name green are actually red in your understanding. Ah, without the moorings of objective truth, we are set adrift in oceans of celerity experience. A promising opening to a lecture given by Kirsten Groeg, philosopher poet at the University overlay. The lecture's quality dropped significantly after this point and ended quickly with Groick subjected audience members to a poorly constructed ode to chartreuse. He fled from the auditorium under fire from students armed with the overripe red tomatoes. Right on. Oh damn, I read all those places. That's like the biggest one because I had to go through those, but yeah, this is gonna be a big video. So hopefully if you like listening to me talk, that's awesome. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode of the Codexes. I know I still have a lot to read, but I wanted to get through all the tales because I know they're not letting me know if I've read them or not. So yep, there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, skip ahead for the next Dragon Age gameplay, story stuff episode. Yep, see you then. Bye.